Hi, I'm Mackenzie.
Hey, I'm Denise, and welcome to the podcast from Rundown to Renewed.
We are continuing to go through the book, The 4-8 Principle. And this is based off of Philippians 4-8 that says, finally, brothers and sisters, whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things.
Yeah, so for this episode, we're going to focus on what produces joy.
Mm.
Okay, and so when we look for places where God's character is revealed, we're reminded of his presence in our lives and we're blessed by that, right? So, change your thinking, like from a to think list. Like think of a to think list versus a to do list, right? I think many of us create to do lists all the time.
Mm.
I thrive on them.
Oh,
Very
yeah.
type A. Need
Mhm.
it. Need the to do list to keep me on track and to keep all the balls that I have up in the air going.
Mhm.
But what if you had a to think list? We talked in the previous episode about are you thinking about what you're thinking about?
Mm.
And so, a lot of us carry around like these junk thoughts, well, I don't have what it takes. I could never do that. Well, that's just my luck,
Mm.
or, I'm just going to have to put up with this.
Mm.
Have any of you, I'm sure some of you, as I'm saying those things, you're resonating. You're saying things like that, or you're saying or thinking things like that, or similar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the problem with this is that when we have these limiting thoughts and we don't challenge it, our minds buy into it.
Yep.
So they start to then create this belief that all of this is true.
Hmm. Hmm.
And negative thoughts don't come from God.
Right. Right.
He is positive in everything but sin. So if a thought is bringing you worry or fear or fatigue, it's not from God.
Mhm.
And in Second Timothy 1:7, it says, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but a power of love and a power of sound mind. Hold on, let me read that again.
Yeah, that's okay.
Second Timothy 1:7, God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind.
There you go.
So, when we have that fear, this is a verse that we say a lot at my house because there's some fear. And, I think that's natural to have fear.
Mhm.
But it's what we do with that. And
Yeah.
when we take those thoughts captive and we speak Bible verse over ourselves
Mhm.
in place of that, like that is what is fighting against all of this. So, um, Denise and I like to plan these while my daughter is horseback riding.
Mhm. Yep.
So we have another horseback riding story for you. In this barn, there are a bunch of cats, and one cat came into the arena area and it wanted to get out, but these big barn doors were shut and they slide open. And this cat was sitting there pawing at it for a pretty long time, like
Yeah.
minutes,
Yeah.
like over and over, both paws going, it's on
Yeah.
its hind legs, it's pawing. And the determination in that cat was so strong.
So real.
Like it knew it was going to get out. And so it just kept pawing, kept pawing. And finally it did. And I took a video of it pawing. So we'll have to share that in the
Yeah,
Facebook group.
absolutely. That's a good idea.
But this cat wasn't like, oh, I pawed for a minute and it's
I
just not gonna work. This always happens. I'm so useless. Like that doesn't happen with animals.
Mm-mm. They just go for it.
It was so determined and it got out. It got exactly what it wanted.
Yeah. It was really cool to watch.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and this is maybe a 10-pound cat,
Yeah.
probably not even that
Yeah.
heavy. Like, this is, and I mean, that cat just went for it.
Yeah.
It was awesome. So, I mean, because the reality is, like, when you think about this in alignment with your thoughts, you would never invite a thief into your house, right? Never.
Nope.
So, why do we allow thoughts that steal our joy
Mm.
And then we make these thoughts a home in our mind. Uh, Um, that's really convicting.
Yeah.
Like, okay. And I think it's just, again, it's the cat. We talked about the horses last week, and it was like one was done, and the other one was like trotting along. Everything's good. You know what I mean? And so, I mean, you can see the difference in animals, but you can absolutely see the difference in people.
Yeah.
And it's like if you see somebody that's like not great, right? Like you go to like the junk thought list, and then that person that's kind of consumed by junk thoughts sees somebody that's maybe consumed with joy producing thoughts. They're annoyed by the joy producing thought person. And then they speak so negatively about the joy producing person because they can't see anything positive in life. So then they have to just tear down. And it just rolls over
Yeah.
into everything.
Mhm.
And I mean, I get it. Sometimes we have bad days and hard seasons, and you say things you don't mean, and you act in ways that you don't mean to. But like to make a life out of that,
Right.
I mean, we have the choice,
Right.
right? So let's flip the junk thoughts into joy producing thoughts. So instead of everything we said earlier, let's go with I take deliberate action to reach my goals because I can accomplish things.
Mm.
hmm I have boundless energy. With Christ, I'm unstoppable. I'm ready for a breakthrough.
Amen.
Yeah, seriously, big time.
I love that one.
Yes. Yeah.
And so like based off of the 4-8 principle, whatever you give your attention to expands in your experience.
hmm hmm
So there's this video from a long time ago where it's people passing around two basketballs, and it tells you to pay attention to those basketballs during the video.
hmm
And so you're watching the basketballs this whole time. And what you miss is a man dressed in a gorilla costume just walk casually through the entire thing, stop in the middle, do a little dance, and continue walking.
Yep.
You completely miss that because your focus is on those basketballs. And we'll have to post that link in the
Yeah.
Facebook page too, because
Yeah.
that's really good to watch because, well, and maybe not now that you know, but you see, and then you rewatch it and you see this man dressed in a
Very
gorilla.
obvious.
It's
Second time
so
around.
obvious.
hmm
So, what you are focusing on is what you're going to see and what you're going to get.
Yeah. And it's kind of like think about the theater and the spotlights that go on, right? And actually, fun fact, when I was seventh grade, seventh and eighth grade, my church, the church I grew up in, did these like theater productions that my dad and my uncle and my aunt were in.
Mhm.
And so I actually ran Spotlight for two of those plays.
Really?
I did. I did. It was really fun.
Oh.
And me and one of my very best friends, that's how we became really, really tight. That's when we became best friends. And there's a whole story with that too, because like our dads knew each other like before we were even born. So it was like we were destined to be BFFs, right? But we ran Spotlight, and when you shine that light, everything else goes dark, and that's what everyone is focusing on, is
Right.
what you put that spotlight on, because that's where the focus should be,
Yeah.
right? But the reality is, like, when a spotlight is turned on in our lives, that's where your focus goes.
Yeah.
And you really don't see what's happening outside of that spotlight. And so that can go in either direction.
Mhm.
So if you're putting the spotlight on everything that's going well and everything that's good and everything that you are able to do and able to accomplish, what have you, like that's what your focus is going to be on. And you're going to see more of that. But when your spotlight is turned on to the negative things, you're going to see more of that.
Yeah.
And you're not, and it clouds it like when you're so focused on that negative and that's where the spotlight is, then it clouds your judgment from like anything else really being able to get in.
Mhm.
And the reality is whatever is not under the lights has far less significance. So flip it either way.
Right.
But what are you putting that spotlight on, really?
Yeah. So if you dwell on your strengths and your blessings, your goals, and all the people who love you,
Yeah,
then you'll attract even more blessings, right? So you'll attract more love.
yeah,
You'll even attract more accomplishments.
yeah. because that's what that's where your focus is, and the hard reality is that we live in a society that's bent on highlighting what's wrong with everything, with
Sure.
absolutely everything, right?
Yeah.
Like good news does not make the front page.
Nope.
Um, there is like a 70% chance of sunshine is what's it called? Like is reported as a
Yeah.
30% chance of rain,
Yeah.
right? Like it's your focus, and not that rain's bad, but like that's what you're focused on though. You're not focused on the fact that there's 70% chance that you're gonna be in the sun most of the day. It's
Right.
well, try to pack your raincoat
Yeah.
'cause and your umbrella because there's gonna be rain.
Yeah. So we want to focus on aiming our spotlight. Like, where is that spotlight going to
Yeah,
be focused on?
yeah.
And dwelling on your problems, it doesn't help fix anything.
Oh,
It just makes you an expert on them.
yep.
And that's not somewhere that you want to be and stay. So when you activate this 4-8 principle in your own life, you'll begin to see opportunities where you were previously only seeing obstacles.
Right.
And, it counsels you to marinate in the solution to your problems rather than just sit in your problems and say, this always happens. I'm stuck. This is just my luck.
Mm.
Any of those things.
Yeah. Yeah, in our own personal growth, right? Like our thinking is going to guide us down a path of either comfort or character, right? So think about like for anyone that's listening that's a parent, right? Like you're either going to amplify your children's potential or you're going to smother it,
Right.
right? And your spiritual walk, like it's going to either be shallow or you're going to have a deep experience with God. In your business, if you own a business or in your work, even, right? Like you will only prosper like to the ceiling that your thoughts are going to permit you to have,
Mm,
right? So, because the reality is like your only limitations are the ones that you actually think you have. And I think that that's just really important to note. Because
yeah.
again, we always, you know, if you ask somebody in business, oh, how's it going? Like, even if they have 0 clients or
Hmm.
whatever, if they say, it's going really well, then you're going to think they have a ton, like, and maybe they don't have any clients, but they're growing, they're making connections, they're doing this, that, and the other thing. And to them, that's success,
Yeah.
right? So it's like, how do you see it?
Yeah.
And
Perspective.
perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's everything.
Yeah. And I think, when you bring your thinking into the domain of your conscious, right? You have creative control.
Hmm.
You'll rapidly discover what an enormous advantage you have in sculpting the conditions of your life.
Yeah. Like, who doesn't want to do that?
Right. You have that power
Yeah.
inside of you. You have that choice to be able to switch it.
Yeah. Yeah. So, um, like I said, this is from the 4-8 principle. And so the author encourages us to ask what he calls 4-8 questions. And so it's a question that extracts a positive response. And so this is something that he encourages, choose a couple of these, choose all of them, but ask yourself these questions every day, just to help get your mind kind of primed for the day. And I actually, when we were going through this, I was reminded I did an exercise that was similar to this, which I'll share after I read the questions. So we should get through the questions first. I am jumping the gun here. But so the questions, there are 5 questions. Okay. So, what are 5 things I'm thankful for right now? What are 5 of my strengths or positive traits? What are 5 of my best achievements so far? Who are the 5 people who love me the most? And what 5 things am I looking forward to in the next 7 days? Right? So you can see that like each question demands like a positive answer, and it forces you to dwell on the positive.
Mm,
And so something that I did that was really similar to this once was I did an exercise where every morning you set a timer and you would write out for 3 minutes and you would do 3 rounds. And I remember the one was like, what are you thankful for? The second one was like, you picked an achievement. of something that you did in the past and like the steps that it took for you to get there. So you like remembered like all the ways that you achieved something. And I can't remember the third one, but clearly those two really stuck out
Yeah.
because it showed me, oh wow, like look at all that I was able to do. And I would
Right.
go back into like high school, like
Yeah.
decisions I made in high school or college. And I was like, oh wow, like look at the bravery it took to do all these things.
Hmm.
So there really is power in like focusing on gratitude and focusing on like the things that you've been able to do in the past.
Yeah.
Because especially if you're in a rut in your thought life, bringing those things to the forefront helps immensely because then you remember like, oh yeah, look at where I've come from. It helps shift a lot of things.
Yeah. And in our world and the way that our brains are just wired, it's common to minimize what is working well and just exaggerate what is not working. And
Right.
so, the downside of human nature is that it quietly nudges us to accentuate what is missing and downplay what actually is available.
Yeah.
So, using this 4-8 principle is going to help us fight those barriers and live to our full potential and do what we were created to do.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, we have some discussion questions here today. And the first one is there an area of your life where you're pointing the spotlight in the wrong direction?
Mm.
So, Denise is going to answer that one.
We always start with a hard hitting one.
Yeah,
Why do we do that?
it's the only way to go, I
I know,
guess.
I guess. Okay, so
We'll end with a good one, okay?
we do. Maybe that's why we start with the hard hitting one,
Yeah.
because then we end on a
Well, I mean, we want to do the hard things first, right?
that's
Get
right.
it done
That's
and
right.
over with.
That's right. That's right. So something that kind of happened recently was I had my kiddos. It was my weekend with my kids. And normally when I have them for the weekend, we're doing, a handful of things. And the weekend that I had them, we were supposed to have like time with friends. We were gonna be with friends in some capacity all weekend. And I woke up on Saturday and I felt horrible. Just just like so drained and just that whole nasal, all the fun things that you get this time of year, right? And I was pretty much down for the count. Like I mean, I was able to make all of our meals and clean the kitchen and make sure my kids were good. That was about it.
Yeah.
And I remember on Sunday thinking, and I got better. Like, Saturday was rough. Sunday was manageable. Still not great, but manageable. And I remember on Sunday night thinking, yeah, this was just like a whole weekend. And I feel like I completely wasted it because I didn't
Mm.
get to do everything that I wanted to do with them. And I had to flip that in my mind and
Right.
see what I did get to do with my kids. And apart from me being sick, we still had really good moments
Right.
over the weekend. And I think for me, it's, I don't necessarily measure my motherhood like by, oh, here's everything that we did. Here's all these experiences I gave them and this and that. Those things are important to me. I think it's easy to fall into that trap. And I'm sure I do to a degree, but I'm trying not to put a spotlight on, well, look at everything that you did and that's how good of a mother you are. And if you don't do all of these things, then you're not a good mom because that's just a lie from the pit of hell.
Mm.
And so I kind of like crept into that like lie a little bit this weekend when it was all said and done. And it was like, no, no, you're
Right.
still a great mom.
Yep.
You didn't squander your time.
Hmm.
Something happened, you got sick, you didn't feel well, and you did the absolute best you could with the energy you had and the time you had, and that's enough.
Yeah.
And I think mothers everywhere, even sick or not sick,
Hmm.
I think and parents, I mean, not just moms, everyone's just doing the very best they can. And we
Yeah.
need to cut ourselves a heck of a lot of slack
Yeah.
because generations before us weren't worried about a tenth of the things that we're worried about.
It is wild how much things have
It
changed.
is. It is.
But for me, uh, the spotlight. Sometimes in our house, for me, mentally, is like I don't need like animal lovers coming after me, okay? I like animals sometimes. And I have 2 dogs, and I just don't believe that they should live inside of my house. They are filthy, they are gross. Dogs, like, animals shouldn't be in your house. And why are you laughing?
Because you're funny.
They're like, they just track in dirt. They are so much hair, and I don't like that, and it causes me to freak out. But if I flip that switch of like, 2 out of the 4 people in our house adore these dogs. They help them emotionally. They bring them joy, you
Yeah.
know. That's why I allow them to live in my home. But it's just like, okay, I can focus on how dirty and gross and disgusting these dogs are, or I can choose to see them through someone else's eyes and know that they are helping
Yeah.
them because, they are a big inconvenience. If you want to be inconvenienced, go get a dog.
It's a lot of responsibility. It
Yeah.
absolutely is. Yeah.
And I don't want you to think that I don't like them because I do.
I've seen her with her dogs.
Yeah.
She does love them.
I do love
I
them,
promise.
especially the puppy is so cute.
Yeah.
But lots of energy. So there's an inconvenience. You got to take them on walks every day,
Yeah.
take them hiking, do all the things,
Get
feed them
them.
3 times a day. Like having a newborn, except worse. Not as cute.
You don't get snuggles.
No. Well, I could get
I guess you
snuggles.
could.
Yeah. When
Yeah.
he's passed out, that's my favorite. When I like him the most. Like
Yeah.
he's so cute when he's sleeping.
Yeah. He is cute.
So that's like a silly one for me, but
Well, but it's your everyday life.
it's something that I do have to change my spotlight to
Yeah.
every day.
Well,
So
and you could choose again, like you could just choose to be negative about this and annoyed by it at all times. And that would ruin every single day of your
right.
life. It would
Yeah.
be awful.
Yeah.
So
Yep. I'm not gonna do that.
flipping the switch makes a big difference. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, we'll end on a good one.
Yes.
What are 5 of my strengths and positive traits?
Okay, so I highly suggest you do this with a friend because
Yeah.
we did this together when we
Mhm.
answered them. And we made each other answer our own before we added things to them. But we thought it would be fun to kind of say and see, like, oh, do you agree? And
Mhm.
Mackenzie and I spend like quite a bit of time together, so we can speak into these things for each other. So for me, I said that I'm organized, that I'm gracious, that I am ambitious and loving, and I'm a good writer and speaker. And Mackenzie added that I am a good friend and listener. I thought that was cool.
Yeah. For me, I said I am detail oriented.
Mhm.
I bring on a calming presence with people, and creative. I'm a good communicator
Mhm.
and I lead and delegate well.
Mhm.
And Denise added that I'm a dreamer and a go-getter.
Yeah. The scroll dreams big. Like you think, oh, we're gonna do this one thing. No, you're gonna add to it, and then you're gonna get it bigger, and it's gonna go far, and you're just like, okay, like buckle up, you know. But like in the best way, in the
Yeah,
best way
I'm
possible.
definitely a dreamer.
You are.
Yep.
You are. And I think because you believe in all the possibilities,
Yeah.
those possibilities start to exist
Right.
because you just believe that they're going to show up.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you do a good job with your spotlight there.
Thanks.
You do spotlight the good things.
There are good things that I have.
There are lots of good things that we both have. See, that's the point. Like, it's
It's
important to do like this work of like introspection, but then it's also good to be like, okay, but yes, like again, that creates this positive, it primes your brain
yeah.
for the positive and for the like, because all these things are true of us.
Right.
Like, why would you
But we
not?
don't focus on
But
them
we don't focus on
versus
them. We
the
focus
ways
on,
we're lacking,
yes,
you know?
clearly. Yeah, well, I'm lacking as a mom. No, I'm not. Like, I'm not. And you're not lacking as a dog mom.
Just saying dog mom is weird
Is it?
to
Do
me.
you know?
Yeah, but
Okay.
it's okay.
Well, a parent that has dogs, an owner of dogs. Oh, you guys, this has been a day. We're doing it though. I love it. Okay, so we're gonna wrap up before this gets too silly. But as we've shared before, we are both life coaches, and so if you really want to start shifting your mind to, if you know that you're in this space where you're kind of stuck and you're in these negative thought patterns, we would love to sit with you and hold space for you, to help move you towards this more positive thinking, more joy producing,
Yeah.
life.
Hmm.
We're all about that. So
Yeah.
we would love to
Because
chat with
sometimes
you about that.
it is really hard to even
Mhm.
believe there is good in a situation or believe
Yes.
you can get out of a situation. Like it's
Yes.
hard. Sometimes that's hard. Like you do get stuck and you can't
Yeah.
even see the belief in that.
And we have both like gone to therapy. We both have had life coaches. Like we we don't just say that, hey, we are this and you need this. Like we are living proof that it is helpful.
Yeah.
And we have both been in situations where we have felt very stuck and very like not believing in any kind of good because the bad was really, really dark.
Yeah.
And so we get that. Like we
Mm.
speak that from experience. That's not just a professional woo woo for you.
Yeah.
Like that's very much lived experience from both of us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In addition to that, we have our women's conference coming up with amazing other women
Yes.
in Grove City, Pennsylvania
Very
on
excited.
October 5th.
Hmm.
So we'll put the registration in the description. Make sure you register because that is coming up quickly and we would love to meet you in real life.
Yep.
So we will be there. And if you are feeling run down,
There's space for you at our table.